Hey everybody, welcome back fellow comic book aficionados. David Eon here in the Toy Museum, and today we are having another key book discussion, and that is underrated vintage keys that are still affordable. Yes, you can actually go out and find this. I'm not suggesting you buy the first appearance of Batman. I know that you'd have to win the lottery to do that, but these are books, and this isn't spec. You know, I really don't do spec where it's like, oh, so and so is going to appear in such and such movie, and so what? You know, you all know how that goes. It's a roller coaster ride. But these are solid characters with interesting storylines that are key issues that it just flies right under the radar. And this is Bronze Age. This is Man-Thing number 3. Man-Thing number 3 from all the way back in 1974. 1974, ladies and gentlemen, that was a long time ago. And what is special about this? This is the first appearance of the original Foolkiller. Ross Everbest, the first Foolkiller, of which there were 4, if I'm not mistaken. 4 Foolkillers altogether. But this is the original version. So there was Ross Everbest, Greg Salinger, Kurt Gerhardt, and Mike Trace is the most recent one. And there's a slight bit of spec, I guess, because a couple of years ago, because he appeared in an episode of Jessica Jones. I didn't see Jessica Jones, so I didn't see that. We watched the other ones. We saw, you know, Daredevil and Punisher and Luke Cage, and those were all pretty good, actually. I don't know if Jessica Jones was good or not. But this is the original one, Ross Everbest, the first Foolkiller. And I know they brought the second Foolkiller back, which was Greg Salinger. They brought that one back. Marvel chose to resurrect that character. Well, he wasn't dead. He was in a mental institution in the canon. But this is the first one. And the first one still exists in the Marvel Universe because, if I remember the storyline correctly, Mephisto has his soul. So they could bring him back if you had a good writer, but then, you know, there's the problem, huh? If we can get some decent writing in the modern age, that would be great, just saying. Ross Everbest, who was a religious fanatic, and his brand of fools was primarily counterculture people, if I'm not mistaken.
People that he considered fools for whatever reason. Their counterculture, the guy he was going after in this story, Richard Rory, was a DJ.
Oh, yeah.
And was playing secular music. He would call in constantly to the radio station, getting on him about playing secular music. Richard Rory wouldn't pay him any mind.
Oh, look at this Columbia House ad. 8-track cassettes, folks.
And
I love that.
he went out searching for Richard Rory, found him, and was going to kill him. And Richard Rory's like, "Who are you?" You know? And he told him who he was and why he was going to kill him.
Yeah, because sometimes he just does you in outright, and sometimes he gives you a card. And the card is like a 24-hour warning. You're about to die. Get your shit in order. Basically, a little bit of a courtesy call. And they never really explain. I mean, they explain how he develops. Like, you know, was it Mike Pike, the Reverend?
Yeah.
Reverend Mike Pike, who healed him in childhood. He's like a faith healer or something.
If I remember right, he was, I think, abused as a kid or something. Something happened as a child, and he found Mike Pike.
Yeah.
And began to follow him, and, you know, was like his
attaché.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And would follow him around to tent revivals and tent meetings, and got deep into it. And
he caught the Reverend fornicating, I guess.
Yeah.
Killed him because he, you know, shattered the image. They never explain where the costume or the ray gun comes from. Because he has a very powerful weapon, actually. And I think it's unique that the weapon makes no sound at all. It's just a flash of light and you're toast.
Yeah.
You get burned up. But all the Fool Killers are linked in one way or another. Like the second one, who is it? Greg Salinger. At some point, Richard Rory, yeah, ends up in prison, and Salinger is his cellmate. And he goes on and on about the Fool Killer because I guess he's obsessed with it or something. And the cellmate, is a little unstable and thinks it's a great idea. This is the card.
Yeah.
Thinks that he's like, yeah, Fool Killer, that makes a lot of sense. And so he picked up the mantle and was a big deal because he tangled with the Defenders. He tangled with Spider-Man. Tried to commit suicide because somebody approached him. Some homeless bag lady in an alley said, why are you fighting with Spider-Man? You'd have to be a fool to tangle with that guy. And he goes, my God, you're right. And put the gun to his head. But he was stopped, put in a mental institution. And then pen palling with Kurt Gerhardt is how he ended up the Fool Killer. And they just, they're all kind of linked. It's interesting. But I think it's a really interesting character. And, with the right kind of writing, like the kind of writing you saw with Daredevil's Netflix, I think it would make an interesting show.
Well, they would have to make him more, I don't know if he's going to be a villain, because like I said, this guy, he just killed people because he thought you were a fool, not because you actually did anything.
Yeah.
That,
because everybody's always like, man, why are you bothering me?
Yeah, and then they don't even know what he's talking about until he reminds them, and nobody did anything legitimate. You know what I mean? Like I said, the DJ was a DJ at a secular radio station, and he didn't like secular music. So
that was enough.
Yeah, that was enough for him.
Refine him and make him kind of an anti-hero like the Punisher. They could do it. And again, it's all about the writing.
Yeah, but then you know how people are. If you do that, you're not sticking to the canon.
Well, they get 4 Fool Killers to choose from. So
well, obviously he can be made and created. You know what I mean? You could just pass the mantle down.
Yes. Or they could do all 4 and just follow the entire storyline. I think that would be interesting. I love this panel. And, Man-Thing's always tangling with some crocodiles. He's not happy unless he's slamming crocodiles around, I swear. But anyways, back to the point. This is a very underrated key appearance. And I'm always saying, Bronze and Copper Age, folks. Bronze and Copper Age is the new Silver and Atomic Age. And what I mean by that is that they're really coming into their own now as people looking for good writing, are going back and selecting older books over the modern ones. Modern ones have great covers, but not much else in them. Not much in the book, unfortunately, for as far as story in a lot of cases. But the old stuff sells a lot, and we know this from experience, dealing with a lot, talking to a lot of dealers at the conventions that we go to and showcase on this channel, that more people are interested in the older stuff than the new stuff. And a lot of these books, they really haven't jumped off. And again, not specking, because I'm not, I don't know if the Fool Killer is coming back or not. I have no idea. But this, to me, is a very underrated key that can be found very cheap. Finding it higher than a 5 is tough. Because, of course, the further back you go, this being 1974, the harder it is to find this stuff in decent condition, because back then we read these books, kids and adults alike. It was not just a kids thing. And this is one that you can probably find on an average between $10 to $20, maybe $30 if it's in a really sharp high grade, even graded. I think recently I saw a graded CGC 9.2, I want to say, go out on eBay like around $75, and that's with the postage. So it's not a book that really gets very much attention, that if you were interested, you could pick it up for a decent price. You could probably find these in the bins at a show, or pick up a halfway decent copy offline. And again, the further back you go, the harder it is to find these in halfway decent shape. That's why higher grades command higher prices usually when you deal with vintage books. I know, like, going back, Silver Atomic, gold and platinum age, those guys really struggle to even find a book that's a 5 or higher. It can be very difficult. One of the main reasons is because either the centerfold or the cover is often detached at one staple. And for example, if this was detached even one staple in the centerfold, no matter how clean it is, it's not going to grade higher than a 4.5. So, and with wear, that's going to happen. So they're tough to find. Older books are tough to find in a higher grade. Bronze and copper, you'll have better luck. But they're coming into their own. So, thoughts? Do you think that's a good pick? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. We hope that you did. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you're new. Be sure to check our archives for more of these if you haven't seen our key recommendations section before. And if that's it, then what more can I say but thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.